Hello, and welcome back to Intermission.
All right. Now I got Dogtown for you. This one's a Scott Oster reissue. Um, this one, you can kind of see this shape starting to have that little front flip there. Nice big wide tail on it. This would be something like a street board back then too. I believe this would be like 80, 87 or 88. I don't know the exact year, but right around that later 80s sort of mark there. Kind of in line with some of the Santa Cruz shapes from back then too. Super fun board. Dogtown makes a really good product. Got some indie grip tape on there. Um, yeah, it's a good one. All right, this one of the bigger boards that I own. This is the Schmidt 6 Yardstick. I kind of had sort of a sort of a phase with skating like really long wheelbases. This one is 9.5 wide. The original one's 36 inches long. I kind of tried to reshape the tail here and kind of didn't really like it after the fact. So the original one's a full 36 inches, hence the name Yardstick. And yeah, it's got a 19-inch wheelbase on there. Super long deck. Really fun for skating big pools. Nice big, long, wide carbs. Lots of stability. You can put a lot more power into boards like these. Really, really fun, unique kind of feel to these. I'd love to get another one day or something similar because I'm starting to get that itch for a big board. Got one of my best photos, probably my best photo ever on this thing at a park in Pennsylvania, which we'll feature in the video. So, yeah, one of my favorites. Definitely one of my favorites. All right, I got another classic. One of the most iconic riders and iconic boards of the decade. This is the Christian Hosoi Hammerhead. You can see it's got the, why they call it a hammerhead. It's got that crazy shape. Got a lot going on in the tail. As a lot of you know, Christian was one of the best riders, if not the best rider of the decade. So, this thing was pretty much meant for doing 10-foot backside airs, and doing crazy, crazy big stuff. This measures at about 10.5 inches wide. And the wheelbase is in that 15.5 inch range. I skated this thing a little bit, but there was just too much going on in the tail for my taste. So now it just kind of hangs out in the collection. But yeah, super iconic board. I have Lil Jon's rails on here that I won in a giveaway actually. So that's a cool little touch for that one too. I re-drilled it for the old school pattern too, to try to keep up with era accuracy when I did have it up. But yeah, these are drilled. These are distributed by Select, actually the same people who do Schmidt Sticks and all the Vision reissues. So these are made in the U.S. Super high quality wood. They make really good high quality boards. All right, next up, we're moving to some of my Santa Cruz boards. This one's a Keith Meeks Slasher. This one just has the full slasher graphic on there, not the original Keith Meeks Slasher. But you can see it's his name there. Super iconic graphic for Santa Cruz. I think everybody's seen this one time or another. Really like abrupt fish shape there, super aggressive. Really good for pool skating, street riding. Kind of a great all-purpose sort of board. I'm glad to have one in my collection. All right, next up, another super iconic board for the decade. Probably, again, one of the most iconic boards for the decade. This is the Rob Rosscott Face. I believe this is the number 4. They have them all numbered with him melting and a bunch of stuff. This might be the one. I might be getting the Target series mixed up. But Rob Rosscott had a ton of boards back then with different graphics and different colors. And Santa Cruz has done this, I don't even know how many times, for different reissues. This is one of my first reissue boards. I actually got it before that Gelfand that I mentioned earlier. But this one has more of that monoconcave. I believe the original ones were flat. I'm not sure. But this one's a little bit smaller, 9.5 inches wide, smaller than the some of the pals and stuff. You can see those money bumps, same thing that we mentioned earlier for extra strength. The tail's kind of thrashed, but it usually has this sort of like axe-looking sort of thing going on there. But yeah, I had a lot of good sessions on this board. Spent a lot of time on it, and I love it. It's like I said, one of my favorites. All right, so now I've got a super cool one here. This is the Jeff Grosso Toy Box. One of his most popular graphics. Skated this board a little bit, but this was actually a gift. My friend Andrew gave this to me shortly after he finished boot camp in the Army. So he gave this to me as sort of like a parting gift. He was moving away, and so it's very special to me. He was like one of my all-time favorite skate friends. You know, we were, especially at the time, he was the only other person I knew that was skating boards like this. So him and I were like frickin' frack. We'd go to skate parks, traveling everywhere. And yeah, this board always makes me think of him. He was a huge Santa Cruz fan. He loved Jeff Grosso. We kind of had the Powell Santa Cruz sort of thing going. He had a really cool aggro style. Taught me a lot of tricks. And yeah, really good memories with him. And I'm really glad he gave me this board because it's really cool. All right. Up next, I got two modern boards that we're going to get into. This one is a scram board. It's the Whopper shape. The graphics kind of covered there, but it's got kind of this dragon style. If anybody knows Scram, they know the dog Lupe, who's the Nolan's dog. Yeah, this board was, I think they've actually reissued it, or they've done like a sequel to the shape. But this board is constantly requested by them. It's 10.4 inches wide. I believe it's 15.5-inch wheelbase. One of my favorite boards of all time. Every time I look at this board, I just think about how much fun I had on it and how much I learned and how well I skated it. I also skated my first competition on it, so that's kind of like an extra, you know, extra little sentimental piece for me. But yeah, the molds that the Scram boards have are amazing. I actually have, probably like 3 or 4 more of these back at home that I just didn't bring with me. But this one's the most important to me, so I decided to pull it out and show you guys. So anybody who knows Scram knows the Whopper, and it's yeah, definitely an iconic board for them. I think the best board, or at least my favorite that they ever made. I wish they would just remake the shape, as it was. All right. Lastly, we got the Alva Metallic Rocker. This board I skated a lot. It measures about 10.5, and it's got a 17-inch wheelbase. I actually drilled the trucks back a little bit, and I actually reshaped the tail. So I mentioned earlier how much I love the small tail on that Chase Smith board. So I actually got this board shortly afterwards, actually around the same time I was skating. I kind of had the 2 setups going. This that I would usually skate with smaller wheels and 215s, and then I'll have like 169s and mini cubics on the J Smith, so kind of have different style of board. But yeah, so it's got, they call it the rocker because it's got a rocker to it, which is super unique. So the board kind of has that sort of rake in it, which is nice. And it's got this super deep screw nose, which is super fun for riding. So yeah, so cutting the tail short and drilling the back trucks back. I increased the wheelbase and kind of made it a little bit more, I don't know, maybe nerfed is the word. It's not, the tail wasn't as sensitive because these, how they originally come, you have a lot of space between the beginning of the kick of the tail and the back bolts. And the tail went out like, an extra like maybe 2 inches or so. So I cut this thing down to about a 5.5 inch. Yeah, I chipped it up a couple times. I actually went back in and glued it maybe like 2 or 3 times to keep it living, and it's still nice and solid. So I've also got an original piece of rip grip up there for those sweaty sweeper sessions. Kind of keeps you locked in. Yeah, highly recommend this board. Alva makes super high quality boards, all made in the U.S. Regripped it too. It doesn't have the iconic Alva grip I put Mob on here. But yeah, another one of my all-time favorite riders. I got the idea to even get one, and actually this modification, I actually got the idea from a buddy of mine, Hans. who's really into like the long boards and bigger wheelbases, but I skated his, who was modified in the same way. He drove the trucks back and cut the tail down, and I fell in love with it. So I had to do my own, and yeah, love this one.